Anecdotes with Borna and Mandy on Milwaukee's 102.9 The Hog.
I'm very excited to welcome. He'll be appearing at the Marcus Center next Saturday, the 19th, downtown Milwaukee. Comedian Paul Mecurio.
Yeah.
Paul, good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Paul and I met in the
doing the whole
yeah.
Yeah, the little shimmy. I like it. Come on, Borna and I met already.
Yeah, we met.
I heard you guys
we didn't
met.
shimmy, but we met
Had
in
a meeting
the,
without me.
in the bathroom.
We met in
And
the bathroom.
It's
What
one of
was
those
that
things, Paul.
like?
I didn't know what to do because I recognized you. I knew you were coming on, but we hadn't officially met yet.
Well,
so
I want
it's
to
like,
know, was it weird that I offered to hold it for you? I don't know. I'm trying to be
it's
friendly.
weird. You said I'm not
Wash
going to
your
look, but he said I'll hold it for you if you wanted to.
And then I looked. And
But
I
it's
was
like it's like one of those things. What do you do when talking to a
right.
dude in the bathroom
You know what
that you
it
don't
felt
do?
like? It felt like the beginning of a Curb Your Enthusiasm scene.
Sure,
that would turn into a whole thing.
Sure.
And I looked over and it's like, I think that's, oh yeah, it is. And I was like trying to, I had a moment like that. Liev Schreiber, I was in a movie with him, Chuck. I had a small part. And we went to the Emmy Awards. I'm sorry, I'm not dream dropping, but went to the Emmy Awards with The Late Show. And I go into the bathroom and coming up next to me is Liev Schreiber standing next to me. And I'm like, hey, Liev. And we're both taking care of business. And I'm like, and then I did this weird, like, while we're both going, I'm like, could I take a picture with you? And he looked at me like, you freak. And I took a picture anyway. And,
gotta do it.
Yeah. I like this setup. You got like the globe, and then you got toilet paper, which is good because in the middle of this, I'm taking care of business.
Okay.
If you have to, there's more over here if you run out over there too.
Plethora.
Yeah.
So the Permission to Speak tour and show coming to Milwaukee next Saturday. Describe the show if you've never been to Paul Mercurio's Permission to Speak. I take it, speak freely.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
very PC cancel culture, which we all hate.
Yeah.
Here's a chance to be able to express
it's
yourself.
basically, we don't do politics. It's just, it's born out of my stand-up. I like to talk to the crowds. And then I started asking more and more questions and getting these crazy stories from people. And some people, Broadway producers saw me doing it in New York at The Late Show, and they said, we think there's a show in that. So the premise is we're nameless, faceless, disconnected. If we get together and share stories, realize we have more in common than we think, and have some laughs in the process. It's not like a big, heavy message show. And I go up, I'm telling stories, from my life and, jokes. And then I bring people on stage from the audience and just ask them questions. Like I had a woman, I said, what's your name? That's all I said to her is, what's your name?
Yeah.
She goes, Nydia. I said, Lydia with an L? She goes, no, Nydia with an N. I go, that's a unique name. How'd you get that name? She starts laughing. I know there's a story. She goes, well, my father got my mother pregnant with me, but at the same time was having an affair with a woman named Nydia, and he named me after the woman he was having an affair with. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Ballsy.
Yeah. And then, but we all have it. Like I was just talking about this the other night because Halloween's coming up, and some of the listeners maybe did it too. Like every Halloween, my parents would dress me as a hobo. That's what they called it, a hobo, right? Which is, they give you daddy's old clothes and you go out, right?
Yeah.
And I was saying, you were talking about PC, you can't do that now. That would be considered insensitive because, a hobo is a homeless person. And it was kind of weird if you think about it. Like, our parents dressed us as homeless people and then sent us out onto the streets at night to collect free food candy in front of real homeless people. And it sucked. I never got candy. Every house, baked beans and a harmonica. That was it. So these stories have just been coming out. And Frank Oz is directing it, who created The Muppets with Jim Henson.
What?
Yeah, directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Little Shop of Horrors.
How does that happen?
I had him on my podcast, and I swear to God, this is all true. And I never met him before, and he was promoting a documentary, and we got really into it, talking about process and how he made Cookie Monster and Fozzie Bear, and like how he came up with all these characters.
Yeah.
And Yoda, he's Yoda. Try being directed by Yoda.
It's
a little
crazy.
stressful. And all the way, that backwards talking thing never stops. You go out to dinner with Frank. A steak I will have. I get it, Frank. You're Yoda. Enough with the backwards talking. So in all seriousness, I was in the middle of putting the show up, and I'm like, I can't direct myself. So I called Frank, and I go, I know I just met you like 2 weeks ago, but would you take a look at my show? Maybe you could give me some pointers. And then he really fell in love with it because he's got a very commanding voice. And he goes, we really need a show like this now. He feels really strongly like the connections that get made because people are like talking to each other after the show. Like you go up and you'll say, oh, I'm from Chicago originally. Oh, you're from Chicago. So for 5 minutes, people are not at each other's throat and just talking to each other.
That's cool. So when you are here in Milwaukee next weekend, you will have people from Milwaukee actually at the show that you will be speaking to and telling stories. Yeah. How do you choose who those people will be? Is there some sort of vetting process?
No,
before?
I just go on stage and just start. I say you, and you.
Do you see a type where you go, that like stereotype
this
of person?
Look right here
this
is
look
going to be
usually
funny.
works.
This guy looks like he's kind of hangs out in the bathroom trying to talk to people.
Right. Or this type, this won't work.
I'll
Do you
tell
have
you,
that? Do you have that? Have you gotten that data back?
It's funny. If somebody looks really out there, I probably won't because I feel like they're going to try too hard.
Right,
or if somebody's like raising their hand a lot.
Yeah.
You just want someone to kind of go on the ride with you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm letting them, I don't make fun of them. I'm just, just talking to them about their lives, and then something emerges every time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so like, I had a guy and I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "I just broke up with my girlfriend." I go, "What happened?" He goes, "She wouldn't listen to me." I go, "What happened?" He goes, "I told her not to shoplift at CVS." And I go, "Wait, did you just say at CVS?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I taught her how to shoplift." Anyway, I go, "No, wait, not anyway." So the guy goes, "Yeah, I've been stealing stuff since I was like 13. That's how I make money." And she wanted to know how to shoplift because I was getting nice stuff. And I said, "I'm not going to teach you how to shoplift because you're just going to waste it and shoplift at a stupid place like CVS when you really should be shopping at Saks." Now, he has no idea that this is weird or crazy. He thinks it's normal. And he got mad at her, not because she shoplifted, but because she did it at CVS.
Too low bar.
And I go, "What happened?" He goes, "Sure enough, I get a phone call. She's been arrested. She's in the back of a squad car at CVS. I go down to help her out. We get in an argument. I broke up with her." When? He goes, "In the back of the squad car. Screw this. I don't need that." And it was
oh my God, I love people.
Yeah.
That makes me love people. Usually I hate them.
No,
but something like this, you're like, yes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And
Because
like,
you couldn't write that bit. That has to come
well,
from
that's the
real
other
life.
thing we say is like you can't. I mean, and I know there's a clip I'd love people to hear too. This guy who has polio, like he had this story about how he explained polio to his 6-year-old kid. Because I never met anybody with polio, right? And I don't know if we can play it or we have it. But
I have that one.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get that one though. So we'll see if we can.
But we'll get. But so like I'm having, and then there's like my own life is just like my mother's 96, and we just had to make her retire after 63 years of running a furniture business. And she's like, "I don't want to retire anymore." I go, "Well, I don't want to retire. I want to keep working." I'm like, "Well, what are you going to do?" She goes, "Well, I want to work." I go, "No, you're 96." She goes, "Well, I don't want to be retired." I go, "Mom." She goes, "What am I going to do?" I go, "Well, you can go to." I said, "We'll take you to the senior center." She goes, "I'm not going to go there. Those people are old." I like, "You're old. You're 96. What are you going to go skydiving with Taylor Swift? You're
Maybe.
old." And
Young at heart.
So like. This is another story that you think it's made up, right? My mother, we had to make her retire because she was locking people in her store in the middle of the day. My mother would say, "Oh, I got to run an errand," and I go there one day, the door's locked, and there's this like 60-year-old woman in the store. I go, "Man, what happened?" She goes, "I was looking around. I turned to ask your mother a question. I couldn't get out." I said, "What have you been doing?" She goes, "Well, I browsed a lot." She said, "I took a nap on that sofa." And she goes, "Your name, Paul?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, the phone rang and I took messages." She took messages from me, okay? So now you can never win with your parents. I'm like, "Ma, you can't lock people in a store in the middle." She goes, "Oh, I don't know what you're yelling at me about. The woman liked that sofa so much she took a nap on, she's going to buy it. I made a sale and I wasn't even in the store."
Stop it, Mom. Stop.
Exactly. So it's really been great to kind of just hear other people's stories and stuff.
We have that polio clip.
Travis, how are you? What do we got here? What's the issue?
Polio.
Oh, yeah?
When kids were younger, I would go to the school plays. Obviously, kids would be like, "Hey, is that your dad? Is he RoboCop?" Blah, blah, blah. I would tell the kids, "Hey, I'm from Vietnam. That's how I got hurt." They were like, "Really? You were from Vietnam?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was a joke. But my daughter's 18 now. And a few months ago, she was like, "Daddy, were you really in Vietnam?" I forgot I told that. I told everybody, you were like 6. I never fixed it.
So there you go. That's an example of what would happen at the Paul Mecurio show here coming up. We'll give you a chance to, you can stick around for one more segment here, Paul.
Man.
We'll give you a chance to win some tickets for the show a week from Saturday here. It's 102.9 The Hog.
Borna and Mandy on 102.9 1029 The Hog.
We're joined by comedian Paul Mecurio, who'll be in town, back in town. He's here now, but back in town a week from Saturday is the show. Permission to Speak at the Marcus Center downtown. We're going to give you a chance to win tickets here in just a few minutes and maybe be part of the show, Paul, as we're talking about, because it's very audience-driven and audience stories. So you just bring some people on stage and ask them about their lives, and you're amazed at what kind of funny stuff and stories you can get out of it.
Yeah, it's been crazy, and people can just do it from their seat or not come up. But usually, people want to come up. You feel like I've had people say that was really great because I always wanted to say that and I never got to say it. So,
wow, using you for therapy almost. That's weird.
And I'm the last person you want to have doing your therapy.
Has there ever been a night or a place where you went to and you just couldn't, no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't get anything out of anybody?
No, it's a great question. It's one time I can tell if somebody it rarely happens. It's too much for them. And I bring a couple of people up at the same time. Or I might be talking to somebody in the audience. If it's too much, I just move on. It's not about people feeling uncomfortable. The problem is if somebody's on. Like I had the manager for Jackie Mason and Pat Cooper. That's like old school comedy legends. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I want to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he would not stop being on. He just was doing joke after joke, and you couldn't get anything out of him. And at one point, the audience was like, oh, come on! Like, they were so annoyed. And I just turned to them, and I said, look, this is his story. His story is he's probably a frustrated comedian. So I said to him, is it out of your system now? And he goes, yeah. I go, okay, so now we're going to talk. And then he did, and then there was some great stuff that came out of it because it was just, once it's real. So that's about the only thing that's happened, but it's been really great because people just... it goes from a show to like we're in somebody's giant basement hanging out, having drinks, telling stories.
Yeah, which is some of the best times you will ever have.
Yeah, because there's there's no put on, there's no I had a guy and he looked exactly like my cousin Bobby. My cousin Bobby runs numbers in Rhode Island. He's a little mobster guy, and he sells stuff out of the trunk of his car.
Yeah,
and at one point he was selling suits, ratchets, and car alarms. Car alarms that he stole out of other people's cars.
He's thrifty. He's a thrifty fella.
Yeah, entrepreneur.
Exactly. And he came to my father's funeral dressed in an open casket funeral, dressed in a fluorescent orange silk shirt, unbuttoned, gold chains, white patent leather belt, and white slacks. And I'm looking at him standing by the casket, and I'm like, this is a creamsicle with chest hair, right? And then he had white mesh loafers on, and no socks, but it was the summer, so he had to put powder on his feet to keep him dry, but he put too much powder, so every time he'd take a step toward the casket, puffs of white smoke were coming out of the tops of his shoes. And so, I tell that story on stage one night, and I had 3 people come up to me and say, I got a cousin just like that. So, you think your own life is unique, but it's not, and that's how you make the connections, right? So that's kind of what's been happening. It's been really great.
We have a clip that I would like to play. It's probably one of my favorites of things you let us take a little sneak peek, and that is of a real family connection, if you will, that you made at one of your shows.
No, play it now or set it up, Paul. Okay,
this is a young guy with a stepfather who's pretty close in age.
Yeah,
how does this work?
Marry my mom. That's how it works.
His mom is really good looking. So. Yeah. Come on, man. How do you have a stepson who's older than you are? How old are you?
39.
And how old are you?
44.
Jeez. So, do you put him on your knee and talk to him? How'd you meet his mom?
I was working at a gas station and she liked cigarettes.
And did you ask her out?
Actually, she asked me out in the way. All right, that's enough damn questions, man.
He wants to hear about the mom.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that's so funny. What a gem that you can find people like that and bring those kinds of stories out. So I think Saturday is going to be real good.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say this gets said a lot. It's definitely different. You know what I mean? But I think it's something that everybody's seen because it's sort of a mix of stand-up and crowd work, but it's not just crowd work where I'm talking about your hat and then I'm making fun of you about your hat. Nobody's getting made fun of. It's just chilling about like that conversation just evolved. I didn't have to do much. The guy's finally okay, stop talking about my mother like that. You're creeping me out.
I love that.
And it was crazy. It was just but that's the kind of thing that's been happening. Like just people just kind of coming out and just telling their own stories and stuff like that, and then connecting with each other after the show. It's been really cool.
Let's get you some tickets if you want to check out Paul Mercurio's Permission to Speak a week from Saturday. It's the 19th, Marcus Center downtown. 414-799-1029. Call now. We got a few pairs to blow out here and get you to the show. Maybe you'll be lucky and be on stage with Paul doing this very thing. Paul, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you. Come back anytime.
I appreciate it.
So we look forward to the show, and thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's 1029 The Hog.